Hello. I didn't check in with Awu. I assume he's coming. You're muted.
I would hope Awu is coming. It's
There we go. Someone's entering. Hello. Uh-oh.
Oh no, they're gone.
God. Have you found any cool games? Anything coming up that we should?
No. I need to look. I need to like sit down and do a concerted effort.
Yeah.
Instead of like hoping that they'll appear.
Yeah, for sure. Google just announced web-based AR on Chrome.
Cool.
It's going beta soon.
That's super cool.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like A-frame or it's some other language that you can learn. But WebXR, man, I believe it's going to be awesome.
Do we think everyone forgot that the time changed?
I sent it out on Monday, right?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
I remember seeing it.
Okay. Give people a few minutes. Aha. We got another. Nope. I got another ring and then it dropped.
Oh no. I wonder if someone's in a place where the service isn't good or the Wi-Fi's not good.
Yeah, probably.
How's the rest of your day been so far since 12?
I went to the grocery store and bought food because there was no food. And then I just ate and then that's it. And I've hit a wall. 4 p.m. is like bedtime. Nap time.
It's siesta time.
For sure. So we'll see. Hello. Morgan has arrived.
Oh, cool. Hi, Morgan.
Hello.
How's everything going, Morgan?
Good. I literally just got. I mean, I tried calling on my phone, but something it hasn't let me do it. But I'm all able to.
Okay. Yeah, you sound awful.
Yeah.
So whatever problems you're having are continuing.
Zoom is so frustrating because in theory you can call in on your phone and in theory you can call in from like different web browsers, but in practice it only works if you download the app to your computer.
Yeah. Can you hear us okay, Morgan? Are you able to hear everything that we're talking about? No, I don't know. There's some weird sounds going on. Where are you? Do I have Alu's phone number? Text that guy.
This article is very topical to the project he's working on right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's kind of the point, right? Like we want to find some really interesting, whatever people find interesting in like the realm of technology society. And so yeah, this is cool. I guess I don't have his phone number. Let me see. I'll shoot him an email. But we should probably just start. Journal club. Journal club. Yeah, we'll jump in. Jump in, and I will even grab the link. Okay, let's start talking about it then. Without Awu to facilitate. The show must go on. Okay, so this, let me share the screen. This study was about gift giving on Facebook and about the social dynamics of reciprocity, of methods at which people engaged in gift giving, and yeah.
For me, what was wild about this article is that I totally forgot that Facebook used to have a feature where you could do this.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
It came like flooding back to me, and I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember there was like
Gifts on Facebook.
yeah. I remember there was like a good, I don't know, a couple months where everyone was like sending each other stickers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they weren't like they did mention the difference between something free versus something paid. And I don't ever remember paying for a gift.
No, I didn't either.
I do remember sending like a massive number of like stickers and like icons and stuff like that. So that was fun. But yeah, I felt the same thing. I was like, oh yeah, I completely forgot that feature. So yeah, let's go. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just wondering, sort of as a point of curiosity, if they still have it, and if not, what made them decide that it was like financially a bad idea to continue it. But that's not really here or there for the purposes of this article.
But like it was really interesting at the very tail end when they're talking about like UX designers methodologies to get rapid adoption via like social sharing. So that was really interesting, and how even in a lot of games now, even Andreessen Horowitz, their whole theory is that social games are the new social network. That people aren't going to be necessarily the shallow interaction of like sharing articles or like text. Is going to be much more rich with like a shared space and like cooperative mission and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's really interesting. We are, however, in like I'm in the entrepreneurship in the game school, that class, and they've kind of come up with, well, we had a whole session about business models, and I was like, well, what's the next like business model? How do you know if your game is going to be like a success? Because we're going through all these case studies, and the professor, Mike Fisher, is like, I don't know. He's like, there's no way of knowing what like compels people, what drives people to adopt like different games. But I think this is really interesting.
I think that's why games will never be the new social network, because they have this entire like wrapping of a different storyline or aesthetic or interaction that you also have to buy into. So like I remember when Animal Crossing Pocket Camp came out,
Mhm.
and that seemed like sort of an obvious social network type game because the entire thing is kind of a social network. You know, you have your little Animal Crossing character, and you can go visit your other real life friends in their Animal Crossing houses. But in order for that to be a successful social network, enough of your real life or online social network has to agree that they like Animal Crossing. As
Mhm.
opposed to something like Facebook, where whether you like Facebook or not, it's a social network where everyone already is, so you kind of have to be part of it. And I mean, I don't know if, I guess you must see those trends in things like Fortnite,
Yeah.
right? Because if you're like a preteen or young teenage boy right now and all your friends are playing Fortnite, like that's where your social network is.
Mhm.
But I don't know if there's an equivalent for
Thanks,
other
Morgan.
graphics or other genders.
Well, I'm sorry, I missed that last bit. You were
Um,
saying the teenagers.
I was saying I don't know if there's an equivalent to like that same social interaction that young boys have with Fortnite,
Mhm.
for girls, for people of other ages, for people of other genders.
Mhm.
Like it seems like that's a true statement for a very particular group.
Mhm. Yeah, there's definitely like a gender age dynamic there, right? What do you think about so like Fortnite? So a social network's all about like networking effects, right? You have to have enough people that you know that engage in it to find the value in even participating. So what do you think about like the in this age of super apps where um, I guess I've never played with one of the Chinese versions, but even Snapchat has like gaming and video and sponsored content. They have like their own Snapchat movies that you can watch with your friends. What do you think about now that you've created a network for whatever value proposition, to say chatting? Now you have them captured, and then you start pushing games at them. I guess Zynga tried to do it and didn't really work out. But yeah, what do you think
Not,
about that?
I feel like that's not usually successful because like Facebook had Facebook Watch. It still does, I think, but like I can't tell you what's on Facebook Watch. I don't know anyone who like watches things on Facebook Watch.
I don't know what that is.
Exactly. It's their like streaming TV service basically. So it's supposed to compete with like Amazon Prime or Hulu or Netflix, but I haven't seen it take off in any meaningful way. And I think the value add was supposed to be that you can watch these things with your friends and you can create a community. You can watch like with the existing fandom and kind of have an experience that's more social.
Hmm.
Um, and I get the attraction to that, but it seems like um, I don't know where exactly they went wrong. I mean, it seems like maybe they weren't advertising hard enough on the one hand, and on the other hand, they didn't have enough content that people were already interested in.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and then
Yeah.
there's sort of the added thing where all of your friends need to decide that they're interested in the same show.
Yeah. At the same time.
Yeah, and with I think the increased fracturing of interests, I guess,
Hmm.
there's so much content and it's so specific. It's very hard to find something that you can get more than a couple people to agree on.
Hmm. Well, I think that's partially part of the reason why game that's a different dynamic, right? Like rather than agreeing on something necessarily, like you can battle against friends on like, or I guess it doesn't require as much of a buy-in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I see your point. Like, if the whole thing now is like on demand. And if you're gonna have to corral your friend, I can't even get my friends to like, meet ever. Like we like we can't grab a beer. How am I gonna get them to like everyone sit down at the same time, watch a show, and then like, yeah, what I don't see the value necessarily in it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I got word from Awu. He said he'll be here in 5 minutes.
Cool.
But we can continue to look through this. So this was published in 2018, which is pretty, and it's what, February 2020. It's pretty recent. I'm actually pretty surprised given that, like, I haven't seen any gifts go around. I haven't received any gifts, by the way, on my birthday. What the hell? And then also, I know that all the data was de-identified, but yeah, I thought Facebook kind of, I guess it made exception for Stanford and MIT,
Mm.
but I knew that they kind of hardened up on their data sharing policies. So yeah, they were looking at receiving gifts online. What is the influence of reciprocity versus social learning? And then digging deeper into reciprocity, where there is generalized reciprocity, meaning like you've got something and you want to spread the wealth, versus what was it, specific reciprocity, where it's like you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. To what extent do people learn from social norms? Yeah, it said that some of the drivers were seeing other people exchange gifts. Like something like 77% of gift giving was seeing like people share it online. Sorry, he's texting me now. He says something came up. I no longer have lab access anymore.
Shoot,
Yeah.
that's really annoying.
We will carry on.
What's interesting to me is this figure that 64% of senders and 70% of recipients were female.
Mm-hmm.
Because that makes me wonder if this is a phenomenon that still happens that we're not privy to.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, it's not like that small of a demographic, I guess. Women are 50% of the population. But I guess I find that sometimes with things like this, they are niche enough that I'm not exposed to them, but they're actually like giant things that are happening in like other places or with other demographics. Like social media trends in China, for example, are giant, and like millions and millions of people are involved in these things that I know nothing about. And I'm wondering if there's been a similar phenomenon with this where it still is very popular somewhere.
Yeah, I was actually did they mention whether these were solely US users? Whether the IP addresses were from a specific culture?
I don't know. I don't think they did.
I don't think so either. I would be interested to see how the social giving dynamics change by culture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Morgan just texted me. Don't worry about it, Morgan. She says, internet's bad. Oh, Morgan, we are recording these and I'm posting them on YouTube too, so you can always rewatch it later. People at the center of large clusters give a lot of gifts, while those closer to the periphery give or receive single gifts. Kind of makes sense.
So that's interesting. Popular people are giving more gifts,
Mm-hmm.
which I guess is maybe a way to bolster their popularity.
Maybe they just have an inherent like value in sharing.
Mm,
Maybe popular people just are also maybe share more.
yeah, that's a much more generous interpretation than I took.
I don't know. 11% of gifts were directly reciprocal,
Mhm.
which were confirmed by the survey that they did later. That's cool.
I'm
Hey,
surprised
Awu.
it wasn't higher.
11%? Yeah, actually, you're right.
I know that when I would get those, I would always feel the need to reciprocate.
Be like, thanks. Here's a
Yeah, 'cause
bear.
they're free.
Yeah.
Or at least for the free ones, I always felt the need to reciprocate because it doesn't cost you anything and it feels sort of rude.
I still, when people put happy birthday on my page, I say thank you to each one.
Oh yeah, I do too. Because
Yeah.
again, it feels rude. Like this person is acknowledging you.
Yeah. However, I'm really bad at thank you letters in IRL.
Oh yeah.
So go figure. Hey, Abu.
Hello, sorry I'm late. Something happened and I got kicked out of my lab, so here I am.
No worries, man. No worries.
Yeah. Thank you for giving me a heads up too. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this article. Came across it about 2 months ago,
Uh-huh.
and it really excites me because I love sending birthday messages on Facebook to my friends instead of seeing them in real life. No, it actually pains me that this is the only alternative that we have right now as a way to appreciate other people. And yeah, so when I came across this research, I was wondering how effective this thing is actually. And it's interesting because they kind of broke it down into different metrics that they're measuring. And yeah, I would love to hear about what you guys have talked about so far and different things that you're thinking about.
Yeah. So we were going over the first couple pages about well, we talked about games and kind of games being a new social network, or that's a theory, and the drivers, why people are choosing to make those decisions, and also like some of the insights they found about like UX considerations about like how people are making these decisions. So I think it said, or right here we're saying that 10% or 11% of the gifts were due to reciprocity, someone direct reciprocity. So I received a gift and I'm going to return the gift. Whereas I think they said 77% were from seeing just everyone in your network sharing with each other and be like, oh, like I didn't even know that that was a feature. And so like people just being generous, I guess it was. That was really interesting.
Yeah, I think the fact that more people are kind of prompted to do this, not because of what they receive, but because of what they're seeing is like the trend. Is interesting because usually when you think of gifts, you think of something that's more personal, something
Mm-hmm.
that you want to give to others, not something that you like see other people doing this and you would do this
Mm-hmm.
to family
Well,
and so on.
yeah, they did mention here it could be an information effect, right? So some people just didn't know that it was possible to send a gift. And so then when they see someone else doing it, they're like, oh, I want to do that too. So it may not necessarily be an effect of, uh, like a frenzy or like a fear of missing out. It may just be like the awareness that this is a new feature and a capability.
Yeah. And right now, the other study that I came across is that Facebook is actually relying a lot on these features to re-engage their users to use Facebook because very few people are posting new posts nowadays, and it becomes really hard to get the retention that they used to have. And this kind of like a celebration is something that they're tapping into to get most of our users
Mm.
there.
Yeah, they're. I hear that they're losing users really, really quickly. So that's interesting. And yeah, we mentioned that this was published in 2018, I believe. So it's still pretty recent. But yeah, it's interesting. I also thought it was interesting the age effect. That younger people were giving more gifts, but to like people their same age, whereas older individuals were much more likely to just give them out freely to whomever they you know feel they want to. Um,
I mean, to me, that tracks with demographic differences in how people use Facebook, right? Because you can imagine, everyone has that one friend that's like your like older aunt or like a friend of the family or whatever. And every time they comment on something, it's like, "Dear Christina, it was so lovely to see you 3 weeks ago. Like, this is a really wonderful article that you've posted to Facebook. Say hello to your family for me. I'm sending all my love, Beverly," you know? And so I think with maybe less of a um, block in terms of like what isn't appropriate,
mm-hmm,
you get older people who just sort of send gifts indiscriminately.
mm-hmm,
Like, "Oh, kid of like my best friend's niece, like, here, have a gift. These are
mm-hmm.
free. I can send them to whoever I want." Like,
Yeah.
fun and generous, as opposed to people of the same age group
Mm-hmm.
that I think naturally end up having an etiquette to it. Like, you only send them to people that you would give a gift to in real life, maybe.
Yeah, but keep in mind these were birthday gifts too, right?
Hmm.
Very rarely do younger people give birthday gifts to like older individuals, or I don't know if that's true for me. Um,
Right.
so that can be an effect too.
Well, I also feel too like younger people are on Facebook and like looking at people's birthdays maybe more than like a grandparent that might already know like their friends' birthdays. Like I feel like a
Mm,
lot of people use Facebook as like that reminder saying, "Oh, it's so and so's birthday."
mm,
Maybe they're more inclined to send a gift, whereas like an older person might have had more forethought and like already shipped a gift. You know what I mean? I don't know, just
yeah,
a
or
thought.
may have fewer friends.
Hmm.
So like they would get the push notification that it's your nephew's birthday coming up, and more inclined to act on that rather than someone who has like tons of friends and checks Facebook frequently. The
Right.
driver for that behavior may be different. Yeah, that's a good point. This one, we were talking about this a little bit earlier. This on page 5, um, it talked about individuals are much more likely to give gifts on their own birthday, whether or not they received a birthday gift. And that's why I was wondering whether this was an inherently USA cohort or not. Because I
Mm.
know in Germany, on your birthday, when you go out to dinner, you pay for everyone else's dinner. And that's like the complete opposite in the US, right? Everyone pays for your dinner.
Mm.
And so I'm wondering what are their cultural drivers to this too?
Yeah, Greece is like that as well. You pay for everyone else to go out.
Like you're hosting this party and you invite all your friends
Mm-hmm.
for this specific occasion, right? It's almost as an excuse to get all your friends together.
Yeah. Please, I'll buy you food.
Right. It's my birthday. Let's come
You
together.
spend time with me.
Mhm.
But yeah, that
Social,
is interesting.
social media takes that physical intimacy away from this gift. that you're creating. Like compared to, I don't know, like Hallmark greeting cards that you give to an individual. I feel like this birthday message kind of, they have the same elements, but taking away the handwriting and also like the card of physically giving it to someone um, might lessen the value of the gift.
Can I ask you, Abu, what piqued your interest about this article to begin with?
I read a book called Give and Take by Adam Grant, and the book pretty much broke down like three types of people. So it's a little noisy in here. And the first type is called the givers. The last type is called the taker. And it pretty much talks about, you know, which one out of the three types is the most successful. And it turns out that givers are the most successful people and the least successful people. So there's kind of two types of givers here. And ever since I read that book, I'm fascinated by this idea of gift giving and how one decides to give a gift to others and how other people perceive that gift and what is valuable to the giver might not be valuable to the receiver. So how do you design a gift that kind of works in both favors, right? That is both meaningful for the giver, but also meaningful for the receiver. And I wonder if social media has an opportunity to create something like that. That's what piqued my interest when I came across this article.
Yeah, I was saying before you got here that this article dovetails really nicely with what you're working on in your own projects. And so it made a lot of sense to me that this is what you chose.
Definitely, yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Again, here I highlighted 17% learned of the feature by receiving a gift from a friend. 6% learned from seeing someone else do it. And 77% of people learned from observed a link on the site. Oh, okay. Observed a link on their site encouraging them to give. I'm actually really amazed by ads, like how powerful ads are to people, because on Instagram or Facebook, I honestly don't even see the ads for the most part. I don't need look at them. I don't spend any time on them. Once I see sponsored, I like flip past it. But like I know people that are like joining their graduate school from an Instagram ad. And
Wow.
Your
yeah,
program aggressively targets me on Instagram
yeah,
all day, every day. On Instagram, on Reddit, on Facebook, it's like, join the Iovine and Young Academy.
Yes. There's one, the product design major program. I've seen it probably 4 times today.
yeah. They just pushed it out like last week, so it's kind of it weirds me out because it's like who is picking their graduate school program based on an ad?
Well, I think it's less trying to convince people to buy the product and more trying to get people familiar with the product so that when they go to make a decision about something, that's the first one on their minds. So it's like a brand familiarity thing,
Mm-hmm.
which makes sense because the Ivan and Young Academy isn't super well known, I don't think, outside of USC yet. And so the more advertising they can do, the more they can say, we're this new program, we're really innovative, we're doing all this cool stuff. Like, if you also want to do cool stuff, keep us in mind. Like, I get where that idea comes from, but also one of the reasons that I don't know if I would apply is because it would be giving into the ads. I don't think that's just me, but there are certain products that I refuse to buy now because they've been aggressively marketing to me,
That's
and I
hilarious.
just find them so annoying. And I wonder if you'll see more and more of that backlash.
That's funny.
I also think that by seeing an ad or a reminder to do this, if you were originally planning on doing something, then seeing this definitely compels you to do it, especially when they're offering something as simple as like one click and like one line. Like sometimes you don't even have to type anything; it's already there for you. Right? It's like very compelling for you to just give in and do that.
Yeah. Is it, I guess, there's the popular saying, like, the hardest part of your day is getting up. Is that the expression? So, like, maybe it's just that little catalyst that you need sometimes to get going. And evidently, like 70%, 77% of the people who are giving gifts were just like, hey, you can give a gift to your friend now. And that's all it took. So enabling a behavior more than coercing a behavior.
Well, I imagine too, when this feature came out, it was like, what, 2010, maybe 2011. It was still when Facebook was like cool, and so novel features to Facebook were something that everyone wanted to do like right away. I don't know if they'd have the same traction with the links now. Like, I'd be curious to see if they're getting 70%, or I guess if 77% of the people who are registering to vote, for example, through Facebook are clicking on a link, if that makes sense. Because, like, that's the big, like, Facebook says to register to vote thing that I've been seeing them pushing lately. And I wonder if it's as effective.
Yeah, that's a good question. Here they also said they didn't consider virtual or free goods. They only considered physical gifts and gift cards.
Oh.
So, yeah, maybe they aren't talking about like that craze that you and I were just discussing about, like sending stickers or like things like that. I think they are more talking about those Starbucks gift cards.
That's even more interesting to me because I don't think I know anyone who used that.
I've never
Me
I
neither.
was also like a young high schooler, so maybe that impacts it.
Yeah.
What about kind of like birthday fundraisers? Do any of you have you done anything like that? Experienced something?
No.
No, but I see
I
them a lot.
Sorry,
Go ahead, Morgan.
Oh, I haven't personally done one, but like Christina, like I see a lot of friends will donate to this charity in my birthday celebration, but I've never clicked on them either. Because I'm not sure like if 100% of it goes to the organization or if it's just a percentage. I don't know. There's still like that disconnect when it's over Facebook. It's a little bit unsure.
Yeah, my feeling about them, which is why I don't use them, is that Facebook must be getting some sort of kickback. The same way that like if when you're at the grocery store, they ask you if you want to like donate some dollars to like random charity. The grocery store chain gets a very large kickback from that. And I don't trust Facebook enough to trust that all that money is going to the charity that the person has chosen. But they seem really successful.
Hmm.
Right, and like the marketing saying like, oh, like this amount has already been donated, like it encourages you that, oh wow, they're almost to the goal. Let me pitch in, but I don't know, I can't get over that reluctance about the unknown.
Mm.
I've definitely given to Kickstarters, but never directly on that feature in Facebook. So if someone, and I think I'd be more inclined to pitch in on a Kickstarter, like a link to their campaign rather than a direct link on Facebook. And I'm not really sure why.
Well, you trust Kickstarter, you don't trust Facebook.
Maybe it's also like the context. You
Mm.
know, like I'm going for Facebook not to like be solicited for money necessarily, you know. I want to like engage with people, but I know that I'm going to Kickstarter for a reason, which is to like support something.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, and I think now, especially since Facebook is, at least with my friends, one of the primary uses is like shaking people down for money. Um, I think the more of them I see, the more it's like this really is not what I came for, and I can't donate to like 8 different causes that are one after the other, after the other, after the other in my
mhm.
newsfeed. Um, but if I'm going to Kickstarter, or someone in my real life has said, oh, I'm working on this project, we're doing a Kickstarter campaign, um, that's a very different context.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
And it's
also
more
part
like
of
an option.
it's I also think it's wonderful though that like websites like Patreon are here now, where
Mm.
people that put out good content that probably have, you know, don't have to go to publishers, don't have to um, you know, go the more transitional route. As long as you enjoy their content, you're able to support them on an individual basis.
Mm.
I think that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I do too. Um, I think it's been really great for small creators.
Yeah.
I think it's really sad that Kickstarter is one of the largest, for all intents and purposes, like insurance companies in the United States. But um,
Yeah, healthcare insurers, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like I think the 4th biggest at this point.
Wow.
Um, but they do such great things, I think, for like small businesses and individuals who otherwise wouldn't have had the startup capital to do whatever they're interested in.
Yeah, for sure.
Or I guess it's stuff that's maybe in, sorry, I totally interrupted you. I was going to say, I guess it's maybe stuff that's in the middle of being too small for venture capital or angel investors to be interested in, but big enough that a lot of like average people really want that product to exist.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a niche that hasn't really been filled before in any effective way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. With the ability to get it in front of like tons of different people. You're not just asking your friends and family, right? You're asking the world, which is awesome. I think one of the things from this article that really took hold was that societal norms and practices transcend the digital and in-person divide, which creates new opportunities for reciprocal giving that can foster feelings of trust and contribute to building social capital. And that was confirmed by the questionnaire that they sent out. And I think that that was one of the things that really resonated with me on this, that not only were people like giving back online, but they're also giving back offline. That like
Mm-hmm.
a gift, a digital gift in many ways was like just as important. Um, and what Ao you mentioned about like the barriers of space, like you don't get to see those friends, that it really is facilitating that same connection with gift giving and reciprocity.
What do you think they mean by social capital here? Like, is it being able to, you know, have all of your Facebook friends know that you've done something for your friend. Like that is building your social capital.
I think it's that, and it's also building social capital within one-to-one relationships. So, the way I think about it is sort of like, you know how in The Sims, when you interact with someone, they either have like the plus sign above their head or the minus sign, and you're like getting more and more points with them.
Right.
I think for all intents and purposes, it's that. Like you give someone a gift and your social capital with them goes up.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're building that relationship, um, not just, I mean, you're building that relationship in, I guess, not just in the virtual world, but also in the real one when you see
Real.
them.
Right.
I also think based on their findings about the 11% of gifts were given from direct reciprocity as opposed to just wanting to share. I think that's kind of what is meant by social capital, in that the way we interact with each other and that the way that we feel, good and wanting to share um, is facilitated both digitally and, offline in the physical world. And then we had talked earlier today, earlier in the session about people at the center of large clusters give a lot of gifts, while those closer to the periphery give or receive a single gift. That kind of makes sense just like based on the numbers of connections you have, but also like what drives what. And like, are the people at the centers of these clusters, are they more inclined to give gifts? Is there some sort of like ulterior motive to giving gifts, or is it just more altruistic? I think that's kind of what they mean by social capital.
I also think that's a really interesting statistic because when I think of people who are very popular on social media now, it seems like it's the other way around, right? Like if you're very popular on social media, people will give you money or they'll give you virtual goods or they'll give you like there used to be a thing where popular YouTubers would do like giveaways. So they would get a bunch of different gifts from companies and they would give them to their viewers, and it would kind of build a relationship between them and their viewers. And I don't see that anymore. And I'm kind of curious if you would see that same effect if this this function was introduced on something like Instagram, if you would still see popular people giving their community gifts, or if you would see the opposite where smaller Instagrammers are giving bigger Instagrammers gifts in the hope of ingratiating themselves.
Reminds me of a board game that I bought recently. The board game is called Google, and it's pretty much about how the Chinese emperors would like give gifts to like their officials, and officials will give gifts to each other, and that's how they kind of bypass bribery, is that you give gifts, and like if your gift is more valuable than the gift that you receive, you're essentially bribing the official, right? So it's things like that that is like in the play. It's really interesting.
Can I ask you guys who participates in Reddit Secret Santa?
I do not.
I don't, but I was thinking like last week that I should really start because it seems like such a nice, like selfless little um, way to build a community, which I really like.
Yeah, so if you're not clear on the concept, I've done it for the last 4 years, and essentially just random users sign up, and then they have a little questionnaire about what are your interests, what are your favorite subreddits, and so it kind of gives you a glimpse into the person's life. and you're not paired up with the person that's giving it to you. Everyone is completely different. So and I've noticed that I've been like pretty generous, like more generous than I am to like my brother sometimes for like Christmas, to these complete strangers that I know nothing about, but I see that they're like their subreddit is, I don't know, wrenches or something, right? I'll be like, whoa, they like wrenches? There's this really cool wrench I found. I'm gonna spend like way too much money and like send it to this person I don't know at all. And meanwhile, like my brother can go, forget about it. I just think it's funny. I think it's really, really funny.
I think there's something really attractive in the idea of giving a gift to someone that you don't know, because with siblings, you like know how they'll react, right? You can sort of expect what the outcome will be, and so you can already kind of imagine what will happen, and you get that same um, feeling, I guess. Whereas if it's a stranger, like you could be changing this stranger's life with this wrench. You have no idea.
Right.
And I think there's something about that ability to imagine that like this is going to be something that's really unique or important to this other person. Maybe is what drives more spending.
Yeah, maybe. I do like sharing.
I think it's also maybe that you're only giving a gift to this person once versus siblings or parents where you give them a gift every year. And so it's sort of like, shoot, now I have to think of like a thing that I haven't already given them that is like at least at the level of what I gave them last year. And there's like added levels, I think, of not pressure necessarily, but consideration. Versus if it's a stranger, like you don't have to live up to anything.
That's true. And you'll never, and even if you don't, you'll never see that person again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The selflessness of the act sort of frees you from social pressures.
So we're coming up to 5 o'clock. Does anyone have any other comments? Awu, do you have any other comments that you want to talk about the article or anything interests?
Yes, to go off on kind of the Secret Santa thing, I think it is interesting to consider that sometimes when you're picking a gift for someone, you tend to like overthink it. You want to like put in a lot of thought picking that gift, and even if they give you like a list of like, oh, the things that they want, you kind of bypass that and you feel like that you're gonna create or give them a much better gift just because you thought a lot about it, right? And it turns out that those gifts tend to be less welcomed by the individual. They actually only want the things that so I wonder if you have any thought towards that. Like, what do the recipients feel like? Do they want you to be finding the perfect gift for them versus just getting them the things that they can use, they want?
I think that really depends on whether you're a good gift giver or not, right? Because sometimes you have those friends or family members that are really, really good at getting you something that you didn't know you wanted and that you wouldn't have bought for yourself. And then on the flip side, you have those friends or family members where they're really terrible at it. And you sort of wish that they had just like gone off of what you had told them. And so I wonder if that's sort of the biggest factor in that equation.
But you're much more interested in the recipient, huh, Awu?
Yeah, the art of gift giving. What are some of the most precious gifts that you've received throughout your whole life?
That's a really good question.
Mm-hmm.
I can start with mine. Um,
Yeah, please.
so about 4 months ago, I celebrated my 22nd birthday, and my friends decided to create an experience for me that brought me back to kind of my high school days. So they recreated my high school VR lab in the headset, and I could go back to it. And they kind of showed me all the different milestones of my life, brought me through it, and showed me how I got to where I am today and how we met each other and so on. And that gift turned out to be one of the most kind of impactful gifts for me, as it showed me the things that I kind of lost sight of as I was busy thinking about the future. I was very moved by it.
That's really interesting to me because I feel like the ones that come to my mind are also experiential.
Mm.
Um, so like for my um 22nd birthday, I went up to Big Sur with my boyfriend and we just started dating, and it was like a very I guess like romantic thing for him to do. And because of that, it's one of the like most treasured gifts I've ever been given. Um, and I think back to like the physical things I've gotten, and a lot of those are very special to me. But the experiences I've had with other people, I think, are much more precious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for Christmas, I generally ask my family just to like go eat. I'd rather go eat in the park than like get like something that like a gift. But I think the good gifts are the ones that require people to listen. I think because oftentimes they'll say like, "Oh man, that's really cool," or "I could really use that," or something, and then I'll forget about it because I'll never act on it. And then for Christmas, that will be waiting for me. I was like, I mentioned that 3 months ago, 4 months ago. How did you must have like gone? You went out of your way to not only make a note but remember it by the time Christmas came around,
Mm-hmm.
or whenever it was. And I think those are the best gifts.
I keep a list of those now for that
Yeah,
very reason.
yeah, those are the best.
That's really interesting in the context of social media. Like, what's the equivalent of giving an experience in the virtual space? Is it like virtual reality experiences? Is it maybe something like you're working on where it's a very personalized to you experience? I'm curious about what the future of, I guess, virtual gift giving holds.
Yeah, and will we ever get to a point where like they can predict like the best materialistic gift? Like if they know all your demographics and your spending habits, like will they just say, "Oh, this is what Morgan wants. Click and send." Like I don't know.
That's interesting. I wonder how effective it would be to look through someone's like Instagram ads or whatever and get
Mm-hmm.
them a present based
Uh-huh.
off of that.
Cool.
Probably relatively effective, I would think.
I like the ads. I am guilty. I click on them and like follow the links just to see what's out there. Especially on Instagram when they have that little shopping like price attached to it, and then I'll go through the websites for hours. They get me.
Nice.
They get me.
Nice.
Yeah, the one that got me recently is Glossier.
Yes.
I'm so angry about it because I resisted those ads for months and months and months. And I would always see these pictures and I would be like, oh, that person looks really great. And then I would click on it and it would be Glossier. I'd be like, ugh. Finally, I went into the store near my house and it was great. And I'm really annoyed because it worked.
Exactly. Good products. Good products.
Good products, good advertising, I guess.
Good products in front of people you trust.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's kind of a good way to end it, with like bringing it back to social media. Unless anyone else has anything else to say. But I did just want to, like, we're going over all these articles, and I do want to encourage everyone to just go into the reference section, because that's really the meat and potatoes of every good article. Like this article tells you a lot, but this is where they got all their information. So dig deeper, keep looking at things that are weird and crazy, because there's a lot of people looking up a lot of weird stuff in the world. So yeah, does anyone else have anything else they want to say?
Cool.
Thank you, Max. Thank
Okay.
you all for giving me a chance to pick the article. I
No
enjoyed
problem.
this. Forward to
No
the next
problem.
week.
Okay, yeah, I'll talk to you guys in 2 weeks.
All right. Thank you. Good article.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.